Good evening, everybody. Want to discuss the NFL MVP and just the disrespect of Drew Brees. Apparently, you know, all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes has the MVP locked up. Explain that. That makes no sense. Let me pull up the numbers just to show how ridiculous it would be. They already has the MVP locked up. Okay, now I know Mahomes, leads the league in yardage. I get in touchdowns. That's cute. But the point is, in the most important stat, passer rating, Drew Brees is 1 to Mahomes 3. Mahomes has a lower passer rating than Russell Wilson, who has far weaker receivers than Mahomes has. Come on. And Brees is going to break his own record for completion percentage. So just, come on now. And when you look at teams, you look at receiving core, clearly the better receiving core. Pat Mahomes has Sammy Watkins and what's that guy's name? Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and for 3 quarters of the year, for 11 games, had Kareem Hunt. Now, obviously, Brees has Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Mark Ingram, but still, he doesn't have that weaponry, and everyone waxed poetic about Sean Payton's coaching, and yet Andy Reid is a better coach than Sean Payton. I know Andy Reid, people make fun of him. They go on about him not having a ring, and yeah, okay, Sean Payton might have a ring and Andy Reid might not. But let me ask you a question. No disrespect to Sean Payton's a good coach, but when has Andy Reid had Drew Brees? All right, just stop it. So Pat Mahomes has better receiving cores plus a better coach, and yet somehow he still has a lower completion percentage and passer rating than Brees, and a lower touchdown to interception ratio. Now people bring up that Brees played poorly against in prime time against the Cowboys, and I'll give you that. But Mahomes played poorly in prime time against the Rams when he had 5 turnovers. Yeah, so I have never gotten the understanding of why people, for whatever reason, just don't. The disrespect Drew Brees gets is ridiculous. Because I remember when he broke the passing yardage record, there was so much. Oh, yeah, unlike people saying, well, this ain't baseball. Records mean something in baseball. They don't mean anything in football. Or bringing up Sean Payton, where we turned Sean Payton into Jesus Christ, and then going on about other things playing in a dome and going out of our way to belittle Brees. It's ridiculous. Now, look, Brees has never won MVP, and in fairness, he's been snake bitten. In essence, the 2 best shots he had now in 2009, what I always say is, you can say that Brees deserved the MVP more than Peyton Manning, but what you cannot say that Peyton Manning didn't deserve it and that Peyton Manning robbed him, because Peyton Manning had a heck of a case that year, too. Peyton Manning produced more wins with lesser supporting cast, at least on offense, because Drew Brees that year had the 6th best rushing attack, while Peyton Manning's Colts ranked butt naked last in rushing yards. And while I just said Andy Reid's better coach Sean Payton, at the same time, Drew Brees' coach was Sean Payton. The Colts coach was Jim Caldwell. Now, Peyton did have Peyton only had one legit receiver, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne after Marvin Harrison retired. So it varied. Now, Brees had better known. So it could have been co-MVPs, and absolutely, I'll listen to anyone who tells me who would have voted for Drew Brees. But the point I'm trying to make is you can't say that Peyton didn't deserve it or robbed it, but you can absolutely say Brees should have won it over Peyton. But you have to at least acknowledge Peyton had a case. Conversely, and then, of course, in 2011, unfortunately for him, Aaron Rodgers was just historically good, had the highest passer rating in NFL history, and to produce more wins with the lesser supporting cast. So, unfortunately, Brees never won MVP, but I just want him to win MVP, and I never get the disrespect that he gets. I mean, this guy is a top 10 quarterback all time. I mean, among all the great quarterbacks you list, name a quarterback who's had a great quarterback that has had worse receivers than Drew Brees. I mean, Joe Montana had Jerry Rice and Ricky Waters and Brent Jones, Peyton Manning, the GOAT, had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Tom Brady, there's this common perception that Brady never has any receivers, even though he had Randy Moss, and Julian Edelman, and Danny Amendola, and Rob Gronkowski, and Aaron Hernandez, and Brandon Cooks, and Josh Gordon. Then you look at Aaron Rodgers, who I have second, he's had, Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings, and Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams, and Jermichael Finley and Donald Driver. Look at Brett Favre and Donald Driver and Jordy. No, he never had Jordy, but he had Donald Driver and Greg Jennings and I think Sterling Sharp. John Elway had Sterling's brother Shannon, and what was that, Rob Williams, even though John Elway never had the greatest help until the end of his career. Eli Manning, who's not even that good, who's been an average quarterback. He's an average quarterback who has two magical playoff runs, but he's had OBJ and Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram and Akeem Hicks and Victor Cruz and Amani Toomer and Plaxico Burress. I mean, Eli Manning has had far better receivers than what Drew Brees has ever had. I mean, Drew Brees, okay, I have never been a John Gruden fan. Throughout this year, watching the debacle that is the Raiders, I've been like, I told you so. But I've been kind of, John Gruden made a point 2 years ago. He said, name a great receiver he's had. Now, I think he had Antonio Gates when Antonio was young, before he became Antonio Gates. He had Vincent Jackson for a year. He's had Michael Thomas. He's had a few nice, but he's had a lot of Devery Hendersons and Marquise Colstons. He's had a few good running games. They were good running the ball in 2006. They were great running the ball in 2009 when they were sixth. Same in 2011 when they were sixth in rushing. Last year, obviously, they had an amazing running game. But there have been a lot of times they have bad running games and bad defense. Drew Brees is the most disrespected quarterback. It just seems like the media goes out of their way to disrespect Drew. All of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes is having a great year. And I was wrong about Pat Mahomes. I did not think he'd be. I was kind of like, well, he has a great arm, nothing else. So I did not buy Patrick Mahomes. All right, I thought, because throughout this year, I thought there were only two good quarterbacks from that draft, in Trubisky and Watson. So I was wrong about Pat Mahomes, and he's a great quarterback and seems like a great guy. But this overwhelming narrative to crown Pat Mahomes the MVP is silly. And it's like, Drew Brees is having some history. If Tom Brady was doing the same thing Drew Brees was doing, I mean, the media would be going crazy. They would be going on and on about how he's the GOAT, which he's not. The GOAT played at the University of Tennessee from 94 to 97. I mean, it would just be, oh, goodness. But I do not get the disrespect of Drew Brees. It drives me crazy. He's the MVP. I'm sorry. And you say, oh, he ain't a lifetime achievement award. How about this? The guy has the highest passer rating in the NFL, and he has the highest completion percentage in the NFL. Now, I will give you the Saints defense is much worse than the Chiefs, but the Saints receiving core, they have one credible receiver, Michael Thomas. The Saints have three credible weapons. And Andy Reid's a better coach than Sean Payton. So, give me a break, all right? So Drew Brees has one bad game. It was like the media was waiting for Drew to have a bad game so they could say, oh, he's not the MVP. It's basically like Drew Brees, to win the MVP, is just going to have to be so dominant that the media has to give it. I don't know why the media doesn't seem to like Drew Brees. And it's because he doesn't start, and I made the point, because he doesn't have exotic clothing like Cam Newton, who's grossly underachieved in his career because he doesn't, star in endless commercials like Dak Prescott, who's mediocre, who needs the environment. Drew Brees can be good no matter what. Dak Prescott needs everything around him to be good for him to succeed. Is it because, he's not married to a Super Bowl like the great Tom Brady? Is it? I mean, I don't get. Drew Brees is one of the most likable guys. He's a loving father, loving husband. And what he did for the city of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, a big reason why, because if you watch America's game for the 2009 Saints, Sean Payton will discuss how when Drew was touring them, because he was trying to decide between Miami and New Orleans, and Sean Payton drove him by some areas that had been suffered the most heavy devastation from Hurricane Katrina. Some of the most devastated areas by it, and Sean Payton's thinking, I just might as well, buy Drew a ticket for to Miami, something like that. But Drew, he decided to stay in New Orleans for Christian reasons. And what Drew Brees, he is such a likable guy. He's a loving father, a loving husband. And what he did for that city after the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, why is he not more beloved? Why does the media just not seem to like him? It makes no sense. Drew Brees, as of right now, as of this recording, should be the 2018 MVP. Pat Mahomes having a great year. But among, if I'm making my MVP valid, I'm going Drew Brees 1, Patrick Mahomes 2. I would probably put Russell Wilson 3. I would put Todd Gurley in there. I put Khalil Mack in there. I put Aaron Donald in there. Let's see. So those are the main ones. I'm trying to think. Philip Rivers, I would put in there. But I just don't get the disrespect for Brees. It makes no sense whatsoever. He deserves so much more respect than he gets, not just for his production on the field, but for being such a model citizen off the field. I just don't get the disrespect for Brees. He, and not Pat Mahomes having a great year, but he should be the MVP for 2018. Thank you.